Good morning, everybody. We are live at 7 o'clock. Kate Markland is on 3G somewhere over in Lake Geneva. Hi, Kate. And Celia can't make it. Luckily, so you're not going to be stuck with the follically challenged, good-looking ones. Hi, Dave. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good, mate. You okay?
Yeah, it can't be bad. It's a lovely day. More tennis this morning. It wasn't really very good yesterday.
Yeah, someone left the heating on overnight here, so it's been 20 degrees when I got up this morning. So
20 degrees, somebody left the heating. And Kate, how's the weather in Geneva?
Absolutely scorching. I don't know what temperature it is, but it's absolutely scorching. It's been glorious every day that we've been here, and we've mostly been swimming in the lake and playing ping pong. A lot of ping pong.
I know a story about Lake Geneva. And of course, it's fresh water. I heard that with Jimmy Somerville, the musician, one time was having dinner in a nice fancy restaurant. Didn't like the lobsters in the cage and or in the tank, and decided to buy them and then release them. Yeah, wonder how that went.
Well, presumably it just went from him buying them, putting them in the water, but
yeah, to them dying, because lobsters are sea creatures, and Lake Geneva's fresh water, David.
Well, but it was the thought which count, wasn't it? I mean, Jimmy Somerville was a singer. He wasn't a marine biologist. So
that's it. Yeah. Okay. So no LinkedIn. Oh, hold on a second. Why is that not happening? We are live. Are you sure we're live on Facebook? I don't know. I think it's LinkedIn.
Well, it says we're live at the moment, but that could mean anything really. Which page have you gone live to?
Hold on a second. It's only LinkedIn. Nice. You're going to get a personal invite to LinkedIn to do it. No, we are live. We're all good. Okay. So today, let's have a chat. Anybody got any ideas? Online courses. I think we've all got a course going on. And I think, of course, they're especially pertinent now as another income stream into practices. With practices obviously having reduced patient numbers and reduced patient contacts. An online course, you haven't got one. What have you been doing since the middle of March?
I suppose the question for me is, as a private practice owner, whether it's musculoskeletal, whether it's something else, the question is, do you need an online course? It depends. It really depends, because it will suit some people better. So I think it very much suits people who've got, a musculoskeletal based practice where they're maybe taking people through a rehabilitation program. It suits it perfectly. If you've got a practice which is very much based on, I suppose, core podiatry or routine care or whatever term you put it as, I'm not sure it fits into that model particularly well. And if that's the case, the question is, well, can you deliver an online course which isn't pre-recorded? Can you actually deliver something which is, very bespoke, or get a group of people together and help them with something over a period of time? So I think it really depends. It depends on what your outcome is, depends on what your caseload is, depends on what you want to achieve.
Okay. Well, of course, we're talking across
I think that's really interesting, Dave.
Sorry. Go ahead, Kate.
No, I think that's really interesting, Dave, because I think that the clinics, certainly physio clinics, are used to running classes. Transitioning some of those classes online has worked really quite well for them. But if you're not skilled already at delivering classes, already have your database within a class, that's an interesting obstacle to first of all overcome, especially when there's so much free resource that people have popped up and put on YouTube so it perhaps comes back partly to that listening again to your database in terms of what can you offer that's of value to them that they're looking for at the moment. And perhaps the more niche you can be, the less likely they're able to find the free resource on YouTube.
Yeah, I would say we're talking across all professions. Our routine podiatrists, just we're talking chiropractors, physiotherapists, physical therapists. I mean, again, I know the chiropractors are very good at doing courses. A couple of the chiropractors that I didn't realize till I started working with chiropractors. There's vitalistic chiropractors and there's mechanistic. And of course, there's a whole broad spectrum in between. But my vitalistic chiropractors, especially my friend Keith in Belfast, you had to attend an evening with him. I think it was about an hour long before you even got to the stage where you got your first appointment, because he wanted to talk to you and educate you in his whole philosophy of how he wanted to work with you. And sleep, eating right, hydrating, mental sort of stresses on with pain and injury. And so I know that he's transitioned very much to online. Now those patients now do the course, and obviously not in-house in Belfast, Loopland Drive. He is it's all done online. And so and I know certain other chiropractic colleagues do similar things. As Kate says, physiotherapists are always doing classes. Osteopaths, yeah, possibly as well. So it's quite a small niche then who are just doing routine podiatry. But of course, is there a way that we'd help them, Dave, to maybe transition a little bit to maybe not an online course, but some online education? The general diabetic sort of foot care stuff, rather than a few little pictures and a things. Maybe they could run courses like that. Again, falls and balance problems. Yeah, huge, absolutely huge. And every coffin dodger that toddles into the clinic. My dad used to call it, I think, an ex-GP. One foot in the grave and another a bar of soap. Let's replace that.
Just going back to your question before you alienate every person over the age of 80 who's watching this call live. I think it's interesting that certainly if we look at things like falls classes, balance classes, Kate's talked about it a huge amount before about what you put back into the community. And if you were to, as a practitioner, if you were to turn around and say, I am offering a course, and it could be a free course, it could be a pay what you can give course to your local community, and say, I'm going to do an exercise class for you over the next 6 weeks while we're in lockdown to help with mobility. Maybe it's a seated exercise class for those people who haven't got good mobility. It's an exercise class which can help with circulation. It's an exercise class which can help with balance. And for me, the aim necessarily wouldn't be let's make money from that. The aim would be let's position ourselves as being people who help out in the community and the go-to person who, when you think I've got a foot and leg problem or I've got a musculoskeletal problem, I go to the person who's helped me in the past. You've kind of put that social currency in place. You've dropped it in the machine, and that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Kate, any thoughts?
Justin and Dave, you're going to have to catch me up here. I've not looked at the news at all over the last week.
Don't worry about it. You don't need to know. Another day on holiday. Don't worry about it, Kate. You've another day on holiday. Best not to know. Nothing's happened. It's all the same old shit. Different day. Anyway, Dave, that's good. I mean, and this is always what people struggle with. What am I going to talk about? What will I write in the blog? What will I put in my newsletter? Just have a chat. Today I went for a walk with my dog, such and such, and it was a beautiful sunrise. I mean, Kate could write, wax lyrical about her holiday in France. Preventing
Is she in France? I hadn't noticed.
Sorry, she's in Switzerland. She's in Geneva.
I hadn't noticed that either.
You had been in France. Kate, show us the view, please. Again, great view.
Show us the view. There you go. Hang on.
That's a wall. Nice.
Wall. I spent 5 minutes looking at guttering and ceiling. Whoa. Yeah. Slow down.
Just back to Justin. Just back to your question about what do people talk about, and that's probably a bugbear of mine, and I'm guilty of having a little rant in my group a couple of weeks ago about this, where I kind of turned around and said, you tell me you have nothing you can talk about. I kind of called BS on that, and maybe I was a little bit grumpy about it, but there is so much that we can talk about. You take your average degree trained clinician. They've spent 3 years in a university of choice learning how to deliver that thing. And that's only the beginning. And if you can't find something within your 3 years of training to talk for 2 minutes about, then that worries me a little bit, because I don't think the issue is finding something to talk about. I think the issue is getting through that mindset little block of, well, actually, I know this, I hear it all the time, therefore it's boring. Why would anyone else be interested? And it's like, well, this is about connecting you with other people. And if you talk about something,
Dave, I was just going to say,
Sorry,
I couldn't
Kate.
agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. Not agree with you more. And I think that I can provide the proof of that for anybody that's been in my group. You'll notice, well, you won't know that on a Thursday for the last 2 weeks, Dave and I have had a chat. But what you probably will have noticed is on the Friday, the last 2 weeks, I've suddenly got bolder with what I'm doing. Because every time I've come off my Thursday chat with Dave, I'm like, go for it, Kate, just go for it. And so I couldn't agree more. You've got the content, you've just got to get the confidence to articulate it. And that's turning a few cogs.
It is, and it's getting past that. I mean, the self-consciousness. We're all a bit self-conscious of things. We all look at ourselves in the mirror, or we look at ourselves on a live and think, "Oh, I'm not so sure about how he looks today or she looks today," and that's a tiny thing. But we don't worry about how we look to people when they're in our clinic. And really, there's no difference. There's no difference between the two things. We don't kind of go into the clinic on the morning and go, "Oh my God, look at the size of my nose," or "My forehead's huge." We just go about being ourselves and doing what we do. And there's no difference in producing content from the same perspective. But I get it. As soon as someone comes along and picks one of these up and puts it in front of you, you're like, "Oh my God," it just changes things. But the content isn't the problem. It's the freedom, the flexibility, and the confidence to actually just talk about anything and not worry about whether you're perfect. And that for me is the big thing.
Perfect, Dave.
And there'll also be, so whilst I've been away, I've put a 5-day challenge up that I already had pre-recorded sitting on my laptop. And that suddenly I came off speaking to you last Thursday, Dave, and within an hour, I put this 5-day challenge. It was already sitting on my laptop, all scheduled. I didn't have to record anything fresh. It was already sitting there. And you suddenly realise there's a lot of this content you've also got, you're just not using or repurposing or,
that's the great thing.
Using.
Yeah, it's working while you're on holiday. I mean, all your autoresponder emails, they're working while you're sleeping. Yeah, and this, as you said, Kate, it's a resource that you can repurpose and use again and again and again and again. It's like an ebook or a printed out introduction to your practice and your services. You have it there. Every new patient gets one. Every new person that contacts your practice gets the series of balls and diabetic foot care, choosing the right shoes, what not to do when you're going for a walk, the home exercise with a tin of beans for granny. I mean, it's all there. It's just getting on and doing it. Oh, we don't have time. If you don't have time, spend that 50 quid a week on the bookkeeper. Get rid of all your bookkeeping stuff, and that frees up your time. Also, get off the old chat forums. Close your laptop. Stop complaining about all the stuff. Yes, you know who you are, and put some bloody work into your practice. Please.
I think it's really helpful. I think it's very easy because people have certainly said to me, what's holding you back? What's holding you back? What's holding you back? And I think it's very easy for us to sit here and sort of almost articulate that without remembering how do you even get yourself organized enough to do that in the first place? And I can't remember if I've spoken about it on this call or a different call. But one of the things I did that I found really powerful to actually enable me to have the time to start putting more content out there was putting in a box everything that caused me headaches. So everything that caused me headaches was put into a box at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. I called it idiot hour, mostly because it was idiotic situations that I'd ended up in that I needed to get out of. And somebody else would sit with me and deal with those tasks, those emails, but by compartmentalizing the chaos or the idiotic decisions that you've made in the past and having somebody help you reply to them that's not emotionally involved in, the stupidity that caused you to be in that situation in the first place, frees up the rest of the week from the chaos. And what
Uh-oh.
We've lost her.
Anyway, I'll tell you how you do it. email me, justin@justinblakemedia.com. I'll tell you how to do it, how to repurpose stuff, and how to have a sequence of things. And I'm sure Dave will help as well.
It's really interesting actually. One of the hang-ups that we all have, one of the hang-ups which we all have about this stuff is that we've said something already, and therefore people should already know about it. And why we having to say it again? And there's a real vanity kind of component to that. There's a thing called the spotlight effect, which is where we believe that the spotlight is on us a whole lot more than it really is. And actually, what we've lost in there. And then what happens is that we don't talk about stuff because we artificially think that everyone's heard it, that we've broadcasted it and everyone's heard it. And the reality is that very few people have heard it. I mean, statistically, Facebook page, 1 to 2% of people see your posts. So what you have to do almost is you have to do the same post 100 times over a period of time. And it is about repetition of message. So it's not about saying lots of stuff once. It's a bit like the leafleting idea that you don't go and leaflet 10,000 houses once. You go and leaflet 100 houses X number of times, or 1,000 houses X number of times, because you repeat that message. And that's where people get hung up, is they think they've got to have loads of content. You don't. You just have to have some very clear, very simple content which articulates what you do in a very particular way, which people understand, and then just repeat the message.
Yeah, and it's also because the patients don't remember anything. What's the stats? Is it about 15% of the conversation that they remember with you? So how many times has you come back in again and they've said, don't really remember what you talked about 2 weeks ago. Can you go through it again? Or you've shown them that exercise and they're like, show you something completely different. Yeah, their interpretation of it. Even simple exercises. I mean, videos of rolling a ball, scrunching your toes, doing a little bit of calf stretch, how to maybe massage a bit of cream into your sort of sore calves, and for their carer, for the daughter, but the son who's looking after the father, the older mother. Again, relating back to, but I mean, that's a very small group that we're talking to, Dave. Those routine podiatrists. Again, we're global. Global. We're on physios, chiros, osteopaths, physical therapists, rehabilitation therapists. They've got a whole range of stuff that they could be doing. And the same.
And also, I was going to say as well, one of the things which is interesting when you're talking about you give an exercise to someone on day one, and then day 10 they come back and they're doing something completely different. Well, often the exercise you give to them on day one, they're not ready for. Yes, they need it, but they're not mentally ready for it. And I mean, how many times have we read the same passage or same book over a number of years, and it's only on the 10th read that we go, oh my God, I've just noticed that. And you think it's the first time you've noticed it, and actually you've already looked at it 9 times before. Yeah. So there's that repetition. And I mean, what's that cheesy phrase? When the student's ready, the teacher appears. And often it's a case of when the information you need appears, you're normally ready, or when you're ready to have that information, the information appears. So, yeah.
Of course, the great thing is when they're doing it completely wrong and they're still getting better. I mean, at least maybe they're doing something. And actually, and quite often, I remember having a discussion with somebody online ages ago around what comes first, belief or action, and there's an element, if you don't believe that, patients will come in and don't believe they're going to get better, but if you can show them things where they take action, eventually the belief catches up. So you do action first, which is the exercises, and even if they do it wrong, they're doing something, they're moving, they're dealing with the level of pain and discomfort, they're looking at rehabilitation. There's a whole host of things which kind of fit into place. And then when they see the benefits, they go, oh yeah. And that in itself is a bit of content. Talk about that process. There's so many things. Apparently Kate's phone, it's so hot in Geneva, Kate's phone has overheated. It's shut down.
Oh, dear.
Bob Kids on. Bob, how does that work in Australia? How do people's phones overheat in Australia? I mean, my friend Christopher, my Google AdWords guy, lives somewhere outside Seville, and a secret location. And it's 51 degrees the other day. Actually, that was last Thursday, 51. That was like 11 in the morning. Yesterday it rained. It rained in Spain. The garden got a little dosing. It was lovely. It's first time he's lived there for about 7 years. First time he's ever seen rain.
Oh man, I would melt. I mean, it's going to be about 29 today, and that's too much for me. I have a tattoo somewhere with care instructions, and it's, don't feed after midnight, keep hydrated, keep between 18 and 22 degrees. Likes ice cream. It's care instructions, because when it gets too hot, I'm just like, you know what, I can't deal with it. I'm not a warm weather person by any means.
Yeah, I think we did share weekend videos or snaps, and yeah, it was beautiful here, absolutely stunning. We played tennis, we went sea swimming. The water was quite chilly, and it was absolutely, I think it was got about 22 degrees, 23 perhaps, which was just perfect. Today it looks like again it's going to be a scorcher. Sailing this evening at 7. The tides are right, so it'll be great. Probably not going to be enough wind, but anyway. So say Bob Kidd on. Did you see my talk with Bob Kidd?
No, didn't see that one. Didn't see that one. But who else was on there? Was Bob and...
Well, we had Bob Ramsey. Well, Bob Kidd doing the whole prehistoric bone and the whole sort of change and the stuff, the change over time of the talar angle and stuff, And well, this is the sort of thing that my sister reckons all this stuff. All my talks are quite self-indulgent. Yeah, I like them. Then we have Ramsey Sloss on the next week, talking about TMJ issues and the whole integrated biomechanics. Ramsey was fascinating. He's really good. Anybody got any temporomandibular joint problems and jaw problems, go and see Ramsey in Glasgow. Then we had Simon Costain on, from Harley Street. Who else was on? I'm still waiting on my colleague Nick Cullen, the orthopedic surgeon from Stanmore. We're not going to talk about bunions, even though he thinks he's quite good at them. We want to talk about biologics in the future and 3D printing of bones, implants. With the technology now, we can live past 100. Well, that's my plan anyway. 120 maybe.
I think in this heat I might barely live past lunchtime, but
no, it's absolutely stunning here. So yeah, it's gonna be good. Yeah,
of that. You say you're. I mean, the thing is, when you do those interviews and those conversations, okay, maybe it is self-indulgent, but I remember being.
I haven't said it's self-indulgent. I haven't said nobody wants to listen to bloody stuff about prehistoric bone and talar angles and the comparison between early man. We all come from Africa. Did you know that? Even you and I, white guys who bottled milk bottle white, we all came from the Rift Valley in Africa, Dave. Well, according to Bob Kidd, and he should know, he's been looking at prehistoric bones, prehistoric man from, he's got models from the 200 million years ago. We all came from Africa.
He knows his onions, that boy. And when he talks, my brain overheats. Yes. I know that much. But you talk about the fact that maybe there is some self-indulgence in producing that content, but at the same time, I remember when we've organised kind of seminars and groups before, and what I've turned around to people when we've been in the organising group, and they've said, "What do we put on? What events do we put on?" And I said, "Well, we put on the stuff which we would want to hear first, and then if people want to come along, brilliant. If they don't want to come along, at least we've got something which we enjoy." And you're producing content. And it might not be content which everyone enjoys, or it might not be content which everyone listens to, but there will be some core group of people who go, "That is brilliant. I love that stuff. I'm going to get something from it." And you're producing content from a conversation.
And they also had Tony Gavin was on last week. That was last Tuesday. Fantastic. Did you know the Foot and Ankle Show is going completely online? Completely online. Well, you're talking in it, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I was emceeing it this year with.
It's the invite.
Well, I was emceeing it with Amy McLean, Amy Mack from Aberdeen, and she's. We couldn't do it this year, which is frustrating, but completely understandable. It's exactly the right thing to do, and there's only, I think, one conference on at the moment, which is still on, and I'd be very surprised if that actually continues. But yeah, looking forward to see.
In Las Vegas yesterday. I can't remember the name. Right. Yeah, so wonder how that went with COVID.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. But the Foot and Ankle Show
online, it's going to be completely free. How amazing is that? To have that.
It's great. I mean, huge shout out to Tony and Osgo, and Tony and the team are amazing in what they produce, and being part of that, as a speaker in the past, as an MC for Osgo Live back in 2017, and as a co-hosting it with Amy last year was an amazing experience. To be part of that is just it's just fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the online thing is this year, and hopefully being involved in that as well. I don't quite know what Tony's plans are. Did
you catch the one that Tyson was on? Oh, probably about 3 months ago. It was pretty seamlessly. It was like everybody got 15 minutes, I think it was, and it back to the guy. And I mean, they went right through for about 8 hours. I think they started, the session was maybe the second off, maybe the first, and then just every 15, 20 minutes, every time you pop back in, looked on your phone, they were, they were good. Yeah,
I didn't see that one, but it's interesting because there was a couple of years ago, something very similar was done. Craig Payne did something very, very similar where he had a 24-hour kind of podiatry online course, and it's kind of like at that point people are like, what's this? And I remember he had Belinda Longhurst on doing something on. It was on dermatology. It might have been verrucas. I'm not quite sure what it was, but I helped to set the tech up, and I remember we were sat. We'd been up to Southport because there were Forgotten Feet were doing some stuff with the IOCP, and we'd been up to have a committee meeting at Southport, and we actually set up Bell's laptop in the foyer at the hotel where they were doing the conference to actually deliver this live thing, and it was an amazing thing. And Craig just went through 24 hours and just did the whole lot, and you look back on that now and think that was really revolutionary at the time. Now everyone's kind of doing it. Oh, it might be last year. It might be last year. It might be the year before. Time passes so quickly.
He was talking verrucas at a biomechanics 24 hours. Okay, that must have been interesting.
It was podiatry. So it wasn't just about biomechanics. It was about all aspects of podiatry. But there was
for 24 hours. Okay, that gives me an idea.
The great thing about it is you cover the whole world. So you've got some people will come in live for certain ones. You have a pay-per-view, and then you have a pay for recordings, whichever one you want to do it, and you've got so many options there. But yeah, that was kind of revolutionary, that one.
Okay, that's interesting. And well, of course, again, this is going to be the new reality. Is going to be online. Back to anybody who's been sitting around for the last 20 weeks. Turn the phone around, start talking, start producing some real content, even though you mightn't think it's relevant. What have you been doing? Especially, say, if we're going to go back into more of a shutdown. 3 counties in Ireland have restrictions at the moment. I was down in Dublin last Friday. I had a Thursday night, stayed over, went and see some friends, some drinks, some dinner. Bought a new tennis racket at a proper tennis shop. Completely changed up. The guy said, I had this titanium head racket. Guess what he said? He said, where the titanium is in that? He said, it's in the paint. On the racket. Yeah. I bought it from Sports Direct. It's quite good. And he was like, that's a piece of crap, mate. The only titanium in that is in the paint. Here, try a couple of these. It's unbelievable difference. It only costs about 60 quid to upgrade. And then anyway, I'm rambling. Forgotten Feet.
There's actually, just going to say, there's actually a story in that, isn't there? That, and I've been cycling more recently. Well, I've been cycling more recently, and my thighs are literally on fire every day at the moment because I'm doing mileage, which I haven't done since I was a much younger man. My bike is 14 years old. It's almost as old as my eldest child, and it's great. It does the job. It doesn't stop particularly well, and you don't want to take it out in the wet because you would die. But it does exactly what it says on the tin. And I haven't upgraded because for 2 reasons. One is I'm going, well, it does the job at the moment. And 2, I need to be convinced with myself that I've got the consistency and I've got the focus on cycling, and it's going to be going forward that I can invest in a new bike. But I know that when I invest in a new bike, I will get this bike and I'll go, why didn't I do this 10 years ago? Because it will be so much better. And I think you look at your tennis racket, you got an old tennis racket. What does it do? It hits balls over in there and you win. But when you get a new one, you go, this feels much better. And also, this is where there's a lot of things that people do in their practices where it's good enough. It does what it needs to do. But if you upgrade some of your processes and try different things, you'll be surprised as to why you didn't do it before.
They used to win Wimbledon with one of these. You remember these? Those Dunlop. Yeah. I mean, old school. About in the, I don't know, they need to keep out of the antique shops in Carlingford. But I mean, you know, stunning. Everybody, people like under 30 have seen it. Like, what the hell is that sort of tennis racket? You know, this is a frame to keep this straight when it gets wet. And you pop it in here and you store it and you crank this down. And there you go. It keeps your tennis racket straight. But yeah, people used to win Wimbledon with this about 2 million years ago. Yeah, I mean, yeah, my friend Charlie was out in Killian Riley. Hi, Killian. Wants me to say happy birthday to the boyfriends. I don't know who Killian is. Sorry, Killian. And hold on, Killian Riley. Oh yeah. Termon Feckin. Killian's a chef in Termon Feckin. Oh, I know Killian. How's it going, man? Wants to say hello, happy birthday to the boyfriends. Their names are. Anyway, yeah, upgrading stuff. You know, my friend Charlie was out having a look at another new bike a couple of weeks ago. You know, probably like all my triathlete friends and friends, they all spend loads of money on their bikes. And the technology, I saw an absolutely stunning bike. Carlingford's a great centre for all sorts of mountain biking, and you know, all the cyclists are through here. There's a couple of coffee shops, so probably like you, Dave, you know, a couple of coffees to keep going. Boyfriend, Owen McDade and Keith Gallagher, apparently. Anyway, good man, Killian. We'll talk to you soon. Yeah, there was this absolutely stunning bike. I mean, it looked like something very, very space age, you know, big tubes and stuff. So, you know, Dave, you know, get upgraded. It'll change your life.
It will do, and you know, and it's. I've got something at the moment which works.
Yeah.
It does what I need to do, and I've got all these stories in my head about, you know, either I can't afford it because it's going to be an investment, or well, I might buy it and then I might not use it, and is it going to be the right thing? I've got something which works now, and anything different, there's going to be a bit of a period of adaptation, and you can take that kind of theory to absolutely anything. That why don't you try a different marketing approach? Because well, the one I've got at the moment is comfortable and gives me results which actually I'm happy with, although I would like more results. So we'll try something different. Well, you know, and it's you can look at that in any aspect of your business.
That's the choices that patients go through when they're making choices about their practitioner. That's the choices we go through when we're making choices about anything new. And it is, I forgot the point in that. And it is, yeah, you know, it's time for an upgrade, Dave. You know, 14 years, technology cycling keeps moving on leaps and bounds. You know, I mean,
it has, but you know, I mean, the guy who services my bike for me, Paul, who has just, and this is interesting in terms of how you change your business model during COVID. He had a shop for many years, and it was a community. You know, you would go in there on a Saturday, and I'd be in there like 2 hours just chatting to people as they came through. They put the kettle on for you. It was a proper bike community. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not a cyclist who is going to go and do, you know, 30 miles in a group of people. I'm just not that good, and my confidence isn't good enough for that. But what happened with Paul is that he realised that the shop was going to close, and he just turned around and said, you know what? I'm actually going to close the shop now, and I'm going to do something different. He now does mobile bike repairs from a van. And he's absolutely killing it and smashing it because he's found a niche to go off and do something different, and it's brilliant to watch. But he's my kind of go-to guy for bikes. Well, so I need to kind of hit
at the moment, because I know we were talking to the guy when I was you know, holed up in sunny Dundalk over lockdown. The main bike guy in Clanbrassil Street there. Geez, he'd never been busier. It was like Christmas every day. You couldn't get a bloody bike.
Yeah,
but also, yeah, we were talking about you can't cycle and can't thing. I think I've said this before. My brother-in-law Peter used to do a lot of those taps, you know, the things. Anyway, he was going up Calder's Telegraph in the Pyrenees, and the guy on a unicycle passed him. He said he knew he hadn't done enough training then at that stage. Yeah,
It's not about the vehicle. It's about the action you take. And I remember patients in my clinic who, a husband and wife, and they're a lovely couple, and they were distance runners. So they would go off and run distance, and they would run cross country, and they got all kinds of kind of ailments, but they just get on and do it anyway. But one of their speciality things is they used to go and do. They go across the UK on Bromptons, so on the folding bikes.
Yeah.
And they were telling me a story about how they were going up this hill somewhere in the north of England, and they're going up this hill on these Bromptons, and they're going past these people on racing bikes. These people are on the racing bikes, like me in the morning when I go out cycling in my full lycra with my big lycra arse on.
They're 3 speeds, aren't they? I think
they've come on a huge amount, and if you look at, Bromptons are great. I mean, if you are someone who needs to
every day, he commutes from Goring in Oxfordshire into Paddington onto the Brompton, cycles up to King's Cross.
It's perfect. The perfect transport, and you can fold it up, you can stick it on the train, and it's
commute myself, but each way.
Well, the commute from the bedroom to the bathroom to the kitchen to the office doesn't require a Brompton, but when I do go and work other places, having something like that would be great. But they're just the fact that these two were going up this hill on a Brompton and going past people in lycra on drop bar racing bikes was brilliant. It's not necessarily the vehicle you actually travel in. It's the fact that you travel. It's the fact that you do something.
Yeah, I don't want to commute 1 minute to my new tennis courts office either. It's fantastic. It's whole new lease of life. Anyway, where are we now? Well, I think we should talk a little bit longer, because I enjoyed our chats, our 50-minute chats, unless you've got somewhere really important to go to.
I got breakfast to do in a bit, and other stuff. But we're good. We're good for a bit longer.
And so. Get back to just do something, please. Please. Excuse me.
It's bad for you.
Are you training for the Forgotten Feet 900 miles in 9 days, Dave?
It would absolutely kill me to do that. I can pull all my excuses out the air now about my bad knees and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I tell you, I had a place a couple of years ago for the Birmingham. There was an open race. Well, let's say race. It was an open event around Birmingham, which was, I think it was about 100 miles, and I had a place for it, but I hadn't actually done the training. And I was going to get a new bike, and I was going to do the training, and it just never happened. Just never happened at all. And I think that was 2. Yeah, was that 2 years ago? Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, my friend Gavin and Saranjit were doing a cycle around Wales with other friends to raise money for Xavier. If Xavier is watching, hi, how are you? Xavier needed some surgery when he was quite young, and I got on the static bike in the garage a couple of evenings, and I just went along for a bit of support. I met them on the couple of the routes. Yeah, my mate Tim, he hadn't done enough. Tim was struggling. But I think
if I did John O'Groats Land's End, it would.
Yeah, my friend Dominic and Louisa's in college with me and in the same year. Hi, Louisa. Dr. Jerry's been up Mont Ventoux. Loved it. I think Dom did it without putting his foot down. Or maybe that's a lie, he told me. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty hardcore. They go off to Mallorca a couple of times a year now. I mean, they used that. I think that was probably about, how was Xavier now? His name is Charlie. This is about 7 years ago. So they've used that to go on to, like, either in Mallorca 2 times a year. They've done Ventoux, they've done all the etaps, all that sort of stuff. I mean, they've really kicked on with that. I'll see you out there. I'll go to Mallorca to do some sailing. So back to the sailing. Oh yeah, and I must send you a link, Dave. It was on my Facebook yesterday. You can get on a Volvo boat to go next year's round the Isle of Wight race. All you got to do is hold on tight. I'll send you the link. It's on my Facebook page if anybody wants to see it. You can click. It's free. It's just to enter your name and your number, your email, and you get to go. You do a day's training before, nice dinner, and then up early, round the Isle of Wight, out and around the Needles, down the south coast of Isle of Wight, leaving Isle of Wight to the port, 60 miles. On a Volvo, you do it in about 3 hours, 3-4 hours. Simon Costain did it in a 3-man laser dinghy. It took him 7 or 8 hours. He won his class. That's how good Simon Costain is. I did it once before years ago. And typical thing with boats, got up in the morning, the bloody engine wouldn't work. Well, the engine would work. The impeller, anyway, it's technical, couldn't get out. So we were late to the start. Boat worked perfectly the previous evening. Pulled in, went to the pub, had dinner, came back, slept on the boat, got up in the morning, the engine wouldn't bring us out to where you turn off the engine, drop the sails. Anyway, we were late and missed a bit of tide. It was it was nice. A great day. I've done it a couple of times now. And so Forgotten Feet next year. If anybody doesn't want to cycle, contact us. We're still looking for sponsorship. I've got a couple of contacts. My contact Ramesh in Dubai Duty Free. Well, things aren't quite good in Dubai Duty Free at the moment. Obviously, business isn't as good all around the world. Having dinner on Saturday night with the CEO of a FTSE.
Oh, have we lost you?
Oh, here we are. I'm gone. I'm gone. So, again,
he's back again.
We're going to start at Land's End. Again, it's only going to take us 4 or 5 days. You coming sailing instead of cycling, then, or you're doing land support for the guys?
I don't know. My natural place would be land support if I'm going to do anything. So I'd like to think that I could cycle it. If I was going to do John O'Groats Land's End, it would not be over that time frame. It would be over weeks, and I would just take my time and enjoy, 20 miles a day or something, and just take months to do it. Well, just because physically it would finish me off.
Like I used to say to patients, we could all go and run a marathon today. It would be like Eddie Izzard when he started. It'd probably take you 12, 14 hours to do your first one, and you'd be a bit wrecked. You wouldn't be doing it in 3.5 or 4 hours, but you would be able to do it. So, sure, if I borrowed your 14-year-old bike, Dave, I could crack 100 miles today. But of course, it's the doing it again and again and again and again for 9 days on the bounce is going to be the thing.
That's it.
My friend Big Dave, my friend Simon and China's friend Dave, who lives down in Brighton, he did Land's End of John O'Groats in preparation for doing a Transamerica. The Transamerica didn't go too well. 4 days out of San Francisco. Oh, will you hear this? Guy hit him with a truck. Dave broke 2 vertebrae. Apparently the guy was reaching round into the back seat and swerved and hit him. Broke 2 vertebrae, ribs, fractured his femur. Dave wasn't in a good way for a while. Same happened to your man James Cracknell, didn't it? He got clipped by a lorry in America. The rower, Yeah, I mean, his memory and his whole personality changed. He got hit. Cycling's dangerous, everybody. Tennis is a lot more fun. Well, sailing's a little bit dangerous.
Cycling is dangerous, and I know there was an interesting piece. I think it's in Cambridge. They've had an island which they've designed, which is to prioritise cyclists. So it's the road, the cars have to give way. So cars, trucks, motorbikes have to give way to that. And apparently they've closed it because it's too dangerous for drivers. But it was interesting when I was looking at the article that what tends to happen with all of these cycling articles is that everyone comes out and says either drivers are the most dangerous thing in the world or cyclists the most dangerous thing in the world. And then there's usually the quote about, oh, well, cyclists don't pay road tax. And then someone comes out and says, well, actually, nobody pays road tax. It becomes quite interesting. Cycling is dangerous. And I do know when a cyclist, the drivers give cyclists a wider berth when the cyclists aren't wearing a helmet. Helmet. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's
and they've done some experiments, and actually as well, one of the other experiments that they did was they would dress up a male cyclist, but they would give the male cyclist a wig to make him look like a woman and make him look like a female. And actually what happened is the drivers gave more kind of space as well. And if you wobble a bit on the bike, drivers kind of move out of the way. Yeah. It's really interesting. I mean, just from my kind of non-research observations over cycling more over the last few weeks, Range Rover drivers don't like to give you space, and Vauxhall drivers, interestingly, seems to be a bit of a pattern there. But on the whole, I've only had a couple of touch wood close kind of calls recently, but I wear a bright helmet which is fluorescent.
Driving a small sort of semi-detached house down the road.
I think, do you know, I think what's interesting with cycling is, and this is what I tend to go back to is, you know, I'm a driver, I'm a walker, I'm a cyclist, and what's really interesting is it doesn't matter necessarily who's right or wrong when it comes to something going on between a car and a bike, you know, a driver and a pedal cyclist, because the cyclist comes off worst every time. And when you take that moment just to pause as a driver and as a cyclist and think, that driver is a person, they have a family, they have wishes, they have desires, they want to get home to their family and enjoy their life. The cyclist wants exactly the same. And actually, if a car and a bike collide, generally what's going to happen is that the cyclist will come off it dead. Yes. And does anyone want that on their conscience? Whether the cyclist is right or wrong, whether the driver's right or wrong, it's the outcome which you've got to monitor. And for anyone who any cyclist who's out there, just, you know, take your time, ride a bike appropriately, and any driver, just give the cyclist space.
I used to cycle from London. I used to cycle from in my last practice was in Covent Garden. I used to work in Regent Street as well, and I lived in South London, Camberwell. The cycle lanes were desperate. A couple of cycle lanes, there's so much glass on them. You had to stay. One morning, I was going down the cycle lane, went to turn left, and the bike just completely. Yeah, because you know, so much glass. So I had to stay on the main roads. It was glorious. I used to go up over Waterloo Bridge. You know, Waterloo Sunset. Yeah. Waterloo Bridge, straight up there where the Lion King is, up on the pavement and up into Covent Garden. Took me about 20 minutes. On the bus, it would have been in like an hour waiting around and stuff. 20 minutes, great. Yeah.
No, I used to commute into Birmingham when I was at undergrad.
Yeah. You had to make sure very much that you were, you know, they knew you were there, you know. And a couple of times, cycle courier told me, I never did it myself. You know, anybody cuts you up or anything, light your fag, tap, and then flick it in through the window at them. That was an old cycle courier trick. Yeah, as it bounced off and sparked on the guy, and then you just cycled off. That's what cycle couriers used to do in London. If anybody gave them crap, they always used to smoke. Here, catch up with them in the next set of lights. Knock, flick it in them out the window and cycle off. Anyway, not to be recommended.
Definitely not to be recommending children. If any children are watching, please don't do that.
Yeah, I've been on a road bike. They're too twitchy. Oh man, especially the new ones. They're just too twitchy. You feel every little bump in the road, every little stone. I didn't like them. Yeah. Didn't like them. So far handier on boats. You know, and so back to Forgotten Feet. You know, hopefully we're going to be able to push that on. Well, you know, we should be able to happen. But yeah, I'll send you the link in a bit, or you can go to my Facebook page and click on that. It was only on yesterday. You want to do the round the island race on an old Volvo boat. Sounds like an old clapped out Volvo. Shit, this thing will do 30 knots in a good wind. Yeah, definitely want to hold on tight. You do it in about 3.5 to 4 hours. I mean, one of those boats has a record for what's it called? I get a suntan here. Just sit here all day. Glory.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Are you wearing suntan lotion to protect that bald head of yours?
Not quite. Yeah. I will do. Put it on on a cap before I go to tennis. It's all gone dark. Hold on. Let me move this around this way. That better? Well, that's better. Incriminating in the background, is it? Those things are those Volvo boats. They generate their own lift. They actually go faster than the wind, the way that they're designed. It was on one. I did the Middle Sea race, which goes from Malta all up around Sicily, up around Stromboli, the live volcano, and back down. What's that place in the middle of the Mediterranean? Lampedusa. Keeping everything on port. Yeah, it wasn't much wind. I've been to Palermo, about 5 miles offshore, at night. You know, sitting in with no breeze, going nowhere very quickly. That's the only thing about sailing, rather than pedal power. If there's no wind, you ain't going anywhere quick. That's the only thing I'm worried about next year in the Forgotten Feet Land's End to John O'Groats sail, is that we don't have enough wind, and then the cyclists may beat us. Otherwise, I say we're going to have a couple of days in Carlingford, stopping off eating oysters and going to restaurants, and a couple of days on the west coast of Scotland, and we'll still beat the cyclists. So once we get that sponsorship sorted this weekend at the dinner party, we'll be all good to go. And if we get good sponsorship, we can rent one of the Volvo ones. You can hire them. I know a couple of guys that got them. Clipper Ventures have sailed a leg of around the world. They're looking for about 35 grand for a boat, professional skipper, and a couple of days training in the Solent and stuff. I mean, Bob Kidd sails, Simon Costain sails, I sail. Who's that guy? There's 2 or 3 others who sail. I mean, I don't think we need to do any training. We can just one day and away we go. But if we get good sponsorship, we can get a Volvo boat. if we get amazing sponsorship, we can get a J boat. I think I showed you those before.
You could always get really, really good sponsorship and fly.
Huh?
Just fly from where the beginning to the end, and then you'll definitely beat them. Just cut out the boat completely.
The thing about the boat as well, Dave, is that you got to sail it back. You just can't pack it like you're Brompton in the back of the car and away you go. You're going to sail it back. So that's what some of the cyclists have realised now. So they get to cycle up, and then we can sail back down again. How good will that be? So Clipper want 35 grand for that, all in, with a professional skipper and a mate and a bit of training. I think we could probably do better. I'm sure there's somebody out there who would lend us a boat. So if anybody like Volvo, Telefonica, who else sponsors boats? I don't know. SAS, some big major telecom company. We're here. Forgotten Feet, unbelievable charity in the UK, looking after the homeless and the less well off. They've been doing sterling work with them for years, all sorts of other colleagues. So we're looking for sponsorship. 9th of May, was it? 5th of May? 9th of May next year. We're looking for a big boat, 18 people on it. A bit of a blast up the Irish Sea, stopping off for nice food and feeding the cyclists by a long time. Anyway,
it doesn't mean that someone can actually go and steal a ferry from one of the local ports as well.
No, it's got to be sail powered.
I've got your boat. It's still got passengers in and a few cars. Oh, that's fine. Don't worry. They'll enjoy the trip.
Yeah, and of course, a couple of people were disappointed that it wasn't going to be like a piss up on the way up. No drinking on the boat. You're mad. That's why there's always party in port when you get off. But things go wrong quite quickly. I think you've seen a couple of my video nasties before, Dave.
Yeah.
It's not going to be sundowners. It's not going to be gin and tonics watching the sunset. It's going to be racing a boat as quick as you can, very sober. Because you don't want to be on a boat that things start to go wrong.
Even with the cycling, I mean, I remember when working in A&E, we had a number of. One of the girls who used to work in A&E, one of the nurses, was mad keen on cycling, and I was at the time I was very kind of into the Tour de France and was watching that, and we used to have conversations on shift together about it. And she was a very keen cyclist. And she was starting to do John O'Groats Land End with a number of other nurses and also a number of the consultants from A&E. Yeah. And I think 3 days in, they all ended up with acute renal failure because they just got at it too hard. So if you've got that physical thing of cycling, you've got to think about the fuel, you've got to think about the hydration. And then if you start adding alcohol into it, it becomes really quite dangerous, and you don't want acute renal failure or anything like that when you're trying to do something like that, because it just takes ages to recover.
Acute renal failure. Yeah, there used to be a neurologist I knew from King's College in London. He had his blood type on his cycling helmet. Yeah.
He should have had it tattooed somewhere. What's this cycling helmet? So have it tattooed on your body.
Yeah. So what was I going to talk about? Yeah. Cycling, boating. Yeah, boating's far easier, far more fun. But boating technology, like cycling technology, keeps the next iteration. Have you seen those foiling America's Cup boats where they come up out of the water and they, absolutely phenomenal. Although they've yet to decide, the winner of the America's Cup gets to decide what the next boat design is and where it's held. So the New Zealanders won it again, of course, with the Kiwi ingenuity. Well, they cycled. You don't know what happened the last time. Anyway, it's one design, and you're allowed to make certain tweaks. Really hear this for Kiwi ingenuity and cycling. And normally you see people grinding the sails, what they call grinding the sails with this. Yeah, on launch day, everybody had to reveal their boat on launch day. Guess what the Kiwis had done? Hired Olympic cyclists, and they weren't doing this. They were pedaling. Yeah, and they beat everybody. There you go. That's it. They hired an ex-Olympic road cyclist or track cyclist.
Love it.
Yeah, instead of using
Love
their
it.
arms to raise the sails and tighten the sails, they use the bloody, bigger muscles. That's smarts, isn't it? So they won it, and they get to decide. So I think we're going to go back to proper monohulls, because those boiling boats that, like, again, create their own lift and come up out of the water. You and I, mere mortals. Hopefully I'll get on one of those someday. I'm going to Mallorca as soon as I can to get on one of those old American Cup J boats. My ex-skipper Sean is going to be giving me. Trevor Mills, Killian Riley, Abbott's watching. Abbott, you need to give us a call. We haven't chatted for a week or two. I was doing some amazing with his injections and his ultrasound guided injections. I mean, that guy's amazing. I mean, he's doing PRP for knee stuff. I mean, steroids, Botox for releasing ligaments, research he's going to be doing and publishing on. Absolutely amazing stuff. Hi, Abbott.
There's one more important thing than all of that.
Oh.
He's my Brummy brother. He's around the corner from me. He's
boys. Huh?
Dave is looking like he's really intrigued.
Who?
This is my excited face, mate. My excited face.
Yeah, Black Country Boys in the house.
No.
No.
Can't say Black Country. No. So this is okay. This is the thing, and this is. You've got Birmingham, so Brummies, and then you've got the Black Country, which is Dudley, Wolverhampton, and that kind of side. Now, my mother is from the Black Country, and she's from Dudley. Yeah, she's actually from Dudley. She's from Dudley.
Well, it's Danny Henry's from Dudley.
Yeah, well, Lenny Henry, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, he's a Black Country comedian, and there is this. I mean, I don't. It doesn't bother me particularly, but you get this very interesting rivalry between the two areas, and it's a very generic Midlands accent you can get, but you start to go out to the Black Country and everything changes.
Well, it's like Northern Ireland and things, and there's quite a regional variation in accents. And of course, have you met any of my colleagues from Cork and Kerry? Oh, sorry, need a translator. I mean, sorry, everybody in Cork and Kerry.
But then it's the same with Yorkshire and Lancashire. If you get someone from Lancashire and you say you're from Yorkshire, then they give you the evil stares, or someone from Australia, someone from New Zealand who you call an Australian,
called Kieran. He's from Chorley in Lancashire. Huh? I mean, it's quite a strange accent. It's I don't think I've met anybody from Chorley before. Oldham and Old Trafford and the Salford and places like that. But I mean, of course, they're all Irish. I mean, they're all like Kieran's Irish. His parents are both Irish. I mean, Liverpool's half Irish. And he explained to me that Manchester was all all people from Dublin, because you look at the accent. And Liverpool and the rest of the country was all people from sort of down the country in Ireland. And Manchester. I mean, I'll bring you to North Dublin, Dave. I'll tell you. You think you're a day out at the football in Man United. It's my friends in Liverpool say Liverpool's the second capital of Ireland. Of course it is. Everybody's bloody Irish, and the accent's changed a little bit, but not. But I don't know what happened in South Dublin, because they all speak like they went to public school in England. Honestly, it's a complete. I mean, Dublin's a very small city, about 1 million people. I drove across it from the north. Went for a physio session to get my hip rebalanced and integrated, and used all of the anatomy and motion and the PDTR therapy. If you haven't seen that, watch the interview I did about 8 weeks ago with David McGettigan. I think the title is PDTR therapy, hurling inside Dunn's stores. It's an Irish thing and something or other else. And PDTR therapy is quite an amazing, he's explained it to me a couple of times. It's all neural, Dave. It's all neural. And I got my whole hip reintegrated, body balanced and strengthened, and it's got rid of this pain. It's got rid of my cuboid pain completely, because I was left shifted for 25 years because of my right hip David McGettigan in Swords. So, but the drive from Swords, which is just beside Dublin Airport, into Dublin city centre, the traffic about 4:30 last Thursday, took about 10 minutes. So Dublin's quite small. The regional variation in Dublin accents from South Dublin, very awfully posh, to North Dublin, where it's like, well, they're all, everybody in Manchester speaks like them. It's quite strange. Within 2-3 miles. And there's quite this north-south Dublin city. The north side Dublin's been the, south side. Don't we live in the south side of Dublin. Anyway, how many people were we this morning?
Probably zero now. But once you start talking about regional variations.
But next Wednesday, you're coming on. He's Dr. Foot as well. He's been selling, this guy knows how to sell online. Abbott has been retailing through his drfoot.com site for, I don't know, can't remember, 8-10 years. All sorts of orthotics, insoles, all sorts of podiatry related products. The guy knows how to do business. This is the guy we need to talk to about how to monetize yourself and how to sell e-courses and retail online. Okay, we're over an hour, Dave. I think we'll call it.
I think it's breakfast time. It's time for me to actually go and talk to the family and have porridge.
I don't eat before I go to play tennis. It's absolutely glorious. Yeah, okay. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next Wednesday morning, same time, same place. Again, sponsorship. Forgotten Feet cyclists who are looking for sponsorship. ForgottenFeet.org. I'm going to do my best networking, plying this guy with wine on Saturday night and getting getting some sponsorship. I had a quick chat with him last Wednesday. He was like, "You mad?" I'm like, "Don't worry, I'll grind him down."
You'll be capturing this. You'll be capturing this live as well. This will be live streamed to your group probably.
What, on Saturday night when kind of playing with extra booze?
Set it up with a tripod on the side and just go, right, we're going to live stream the negotiations.
I'm bringing dessert apparently. In Kieran's in Chorley. Guess what? He talks more than I do. I know you find that hard to believe. I really
I don't believe it.
He does. And of course, we have our colleague from Belfast, Sean Savage, on this morning as well.
Sean, yes.
But Sean's daughter, I think she's getting her O-level or A-level results today. So he was double booked. So, he's coming down. Sean only lives an hour away up in Belfast. I'm quite centrally located here. So I'm sure Sean will be down the next week or two. He's going to come down first thing. So hopefully his good daughter gets the results she wants and gets onto the course she wants. So that's us. Ready to go. I'll be on the court in 5 minutes. Have a good day, Dave.
Go.
And we'll
see you later.
Everybody soon.